We all have plans for life, but the disease of addiction is never part of the plan. The road to recovery can be long, and often not a straight line, but access and cost should never be barriers to recovery. Ohio's new treatment locator makes it easier to find treatment and navigate the cost. Recovery is within reach, Ohio. Find treatment at recoverywithinreach.ohio.gov.
Addiction, unfortunately, is a part of many folks' lives, but getting treatment and getting well shouldn't break the bank. Dan Orzano, Outreach and Education Manager for Ohio Division of Securities, joins us this morning with help from the state of Ohio. Help to get your loved ones better and to make sure they're financially sound getting addiction treatment. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely. So tell us about this campaign that has to do with Ohio's financial advisors in the opioid crisis.
Sure. Well, you saw the promo before is one of the public service announcements that we created as part of the ad. There's a number of other things we're doing to get the word out, coming on to programs like yours. We have billboards across the state. We're doing other radio and television spots, social media, all those good things to get the information out. But basically what we're trying to do, Amanda, is try to connect our financial advisors who we oversee as part of the Division of Securities with the public, and try to find ways to find access to treatment and ways that they can pay for it. We know that opioid use disorder continues to be a problem in Ohio. So the goal was to try to find a way that we could address the issue from a financial standpoint, and again, help people find treatment options, because we just don't want, as the ad said, we don't want cost to be a barrier to recovery.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about that. People may not typically think, well, the Department of Commerce or, financial advisors, the opioid crisis, but they really do have a connection here, because, the financial and emotional toll of opioid use disorder takes on the entire family. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's really huge. I mean, obviously, when something like this happens to your family, there's a lot of emotions that you go through, and, you're trying to figure out, okay, what do I do now? How do I save my child, for example? We've had several examples talking to people who have gone through that exact issue. They're saying, I'll do anything to save my child. And you have to say, well, that's great, but you have to be careful that you're not spending every dime you have. And we've had cases where people have, spent their entire life savings, they've declared bankruptcy, all in an effort. And we think there's other ways you can do that. That's why it's important to work with a financial professional, because if you can have that open, honest conversation and approach their clients and say, look, there may be some issues here we need to talk about. You got to have that conversation, because they can't help you otherwise. And so our advisors are trained to do things exactly like that. They can spot those signs. If you're taking money out of your 401k or you're asking for loans against an account, they have to have those conversations with you. And I think it's important that people understand that we realize there could be stigma, when you're dealing with that issue. But if you don't have those discussions, number one, you're not going to find the treatment you need for your loved one. And number two, you may be spending money that you don't need to spend, when there may be other options like health insurance, Medicaid, nonprofit programs, things like that. So that's why we're trying to connect the advisors with the public.
They have those tools, and they have, that know-how that, the rest of us ordinary folks, may just not know anything about. And so being able to connect with those financial advisors could be a real game changer for these families, huh?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, the advisors have really significant special training in these issues. They deal with crises all the time. I mean, it could be another health issue. It could be all kinds of things. And so the advisors are trained to have those conversations and to find ways to help their clients in whatever way they can. And so we're going to be actually doing a lot more work on the advisors in terms of their training. We're going to do some very specific training on how to spot the signs of addiction and how to have those difficult conversations and how to find ways to help their clients, deal with this issue. One of the ways we're doing that is on our website, which you've got the site there, recoverywithinreach.ohio.gov. There's a map, which you can see right there. And if you go on there, you can plug in your address, and what'll come up is a list of all the facilities nearby that provide treatment. You can look at those facilities and find out Do they take insurance? Do they take Medicaid? What kind of treatment options they have? And you can work with an advisor to do a little bit of research and find out what the costs are. I mean, we know that the costs can be expensive for treatment. And so again, the advisor can help that person determine in their specific situation, how can they find ways to pay for that treatment? And so again, that interactive map is very helpful. We also have other data on there for both the consumers and the advisors that can help them have those conversations and find ways for recovery, because ultimately that's what we want people to do. We want them to get in recovery.
Absolutely. You know, I think it's wonderful that the Department of Commerce is doing this, because this is likely a huge piece of the puzzle in this opioid crisis that many folks at home haven't even thought about before, you know, the whole financial aspect of this. So this is really important, and this can really help some families. So where can people go? That website we had there on the bottom of the screen, where can people go to get started?
Yeah, so the best thing to do is to go to recoverywithinreach.ohio.gov. And as you showed before, the interactive map is there, so you can plug in your information, find a treatment facility nearby. And again, you have to do a little bit of research, obviously, to find a facility that might work for you. And then there's also a section where we're helping people find a licensed, certified financial advisor. And again, that's what we do here at the Division of Securities. We oversee the advisors and financial planners who want to do business in Ohio. So there are tools in there to help find somebody and how to have that conversation, and how to work with an advisor. And then hopefully, again, they'll sit down, figure out a plan that works, and what the options are for them, because every situation is different. But ultimately, again, as I said, what we really want is we want people to find the treatment they need and help their loved ones, and also at the same time find the best way to pay for those treatments.
Absolutely, a great effort here. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, Amanda.
You bet. Take care.